Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And we are back now with Tima Dajani here again, talking in regards to all of the energy work that she can help you with. Welcome back to the show today. How are you?
Fine, thanks, Jill. Good to see you again. You're looking beautiful in yellow.
Oh, thank you. No, you got beautiful in blue. I was trying to figure out last week who you reminded me of, and a little like Adele. Do you get that?
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
She's beautiful. So I'm
she's
really
gorgeous.
complimenting.
When we hung up, and I was like, who does she remind me of? Yes, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, that's really nice of you. Thank you.
Can you sing like her? Can you sing like her? I can't.
I wish. I think I'd have a different career if I could.
I know, right? Oh, well, would you mind introducing yourself for me? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Tima, and I'm a Reiki Master Teacher. Been doing this for a long time. Really love it. Really enjoy it. It's always a pleasure to talk about it, to spread the word, to help people where I can. Obviously, that's what Reiki is supposed to do. So yeah, it's wonderful. I'm not a singer like Adele, but I love what I do.
Right. And got beautiful hair too. Well, what did you have in store for us today? Was there a specific topic? I'm just looking. Sometimes people send notes. I'm looking. I don't see any specific notes.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to talk a little bit about, people's perception of Reiki practitioners, because a lot of people tell me things like, oh, you're above everything. Like, you know how to deal with stuff. You don't go through stuff. Oh, no, of course I do. I'm a human being. So we can talk about that and the perception of that a little bit.
Okay.
Also about how Reiki should be used to heal people, but shouldn't be a Band-Aid. People should still work through their trauma and their things. I mean, there's lots of stuff, reaping the benefits of Reiki with good karma. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about if you'd want to go down that route.
Well, for some new listeners today, they might not even know what Reiki is. So I like just to fill everyone in. Yeah. Do you mind? I remember I didn't know what it was a few years ago either. So just give us a little background of it.
Reiki is universal energy. It's an energy of love. It's beautiful energy. You give it through your hands. So it's a hands-on treatment, but you can also do it through distance healing, which blows people's minds. I mean, we've spoken about this a lot, about how people find it hard to get their minds wrapped around the concept of distance healing. But it absolutely works. It's fantastic. And it's honestly changed people's lives. So that's what it's changed mine. I think that it's a beautiful thing. And I love to introduce people to Reiki and to all the benefits they can reap from it.
Beautiful. Well, let's talk about some of those benefits, can't we?
Sure. So, like I've said so many times, like Reiki can help with everything, really, right? So anything that you can think of. So what do you have a problem with? Reiki can help you with it. If it's your pet, your child, your marriage, your health, your education, you need a boost, with some confidence, one way or another. It can help you in so many ways. And you can you just benefit on a very higher spiritual level. So really, I mean, the thing is with Reiki is that I always say people have to be willing to receive it. So people always tell me, so do you get people's consent before you send them Reiki?
Yeah.
It's kind of a loaded subject, do you just, start sending them Reiki? Well, no, I don't do that, obviously. Either a loved one approaches me, a loved one of the person who's going to receive the Reiki, or the person themselves, and they will ask me to please send the Reiki. So I do kind of always have that consent. But the thing about Reiki is that if the person is not willing to receive it or not ready to receive it, they won't receive it. It's closed. It's there. The barrier's already there. So really the issue of consent's not a big issue because they just won't get it. It just won't get to them. And I can feel when it's not getting to them, and I'll be like, you know what? I don't think that this is working. I don't feel that the energy is going where it should be going. And, I say I can try again for you at a later time if you're more open to the idea, or if your loved one is more open to the idea at that time. Maybe you want to talk to them about it. So I can kind of sense if the energy is being received or not, because it's a flow, right? So if it's not flowing anywhere and it's just kind of, there, then I know that, no, this is not working. We have to kind of abort mission and try again at a later time. And hopefully.
So you have like a sixth sense. How would I
I would
describe
say,
it?
I would say it's a sixth sense. Yeah, it's a kind of a
Yeah.
sense of something, that you kind of know. You just kind of know. And I've done it for so long now that I just know. And I kind of I kind of know beforehand as well. But I'll try. I'll tell them I don't think it's going to work, but I'll try. I'll try for you. I'll see if it goes through. And then when it doesn't, I'm like, no, they're not ready
It's
to
it's
get
so
it.
hard to wrap my mind. How do you feel it? Like, what does it feel like? You could just,
It's well, it's hard to describe as well, right? Because
yeah.
it's something that it's kind of very intuitive and instinctive. So it's very hard to describe what it is, but I just know. It's just like I know, like I just know like that. Like I know whether it's being
And have
received
people
or
come back
not.
to you and said like, oh my goodness, I just talked to so-and-so and yeah, they're willing to do this and they don't want that. And they're like, so like you're confirmed, like your thoughts and your feelings
Yes,
are always
yes, yeah. I mean,
spot
I
on.
had a client who approached me around 3 weeks ago, I would say. She needed some help with a few issues. And I said, sure, I'll do the work for you. I sent her Reiki over, I would say 2-3 days, nothing. Like I could feel this girl was getting nothing. Like she was. So I called her up and I said, look, I said, I'm sending you all the Reiki. I'm doing the work on my part. You're not really benefiting here. So what's happening? She said, well, I don't really believe in it. I don't believe and I don't understand how you're sending me all this. And I said, yeah, I can sense that. So I said, well, you know what? I don't want to waste your time or mine.
Yeah.
So I'd love to work with you at a later time, but it would have to be a time when you're more open and more accepting of, maybe the universal energy
Yeah.
that's out there. Because some people, and that's fine as well. Some people are just very practical. They just see what's in front of them, and 1+1 = 2, and they can't really understand or see beyond that. And that's totally fine. We need people like that in the world. But
Yeah.
if they approach somebody like me for help, then they have to kind of broaden their horizons a little bit, I would say. And it's not easy for some people. And I get that. I'm not offended ever. I'm like, it is what it is. And when you're ready, you'll come. And they always come back. They always come back when they're ready. And it always works. It always works out beautifully. So,
oh, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
it's a question of timing, divine timing, right? So
And
whenever
speaking
the
of,
time is right, it will work. Yeah.
now, are you able to shut this off or are you always, how do you relax? Do you Reiki yourself? Can you?
Yeah, I Reiki myself a lot. I give myself a lot of Reiki every day. I mean, honestly, I'm very nervous about these podcasts because I'm
You never
a
know.
yeah,
You're
but
so
I
good.
am.
You're so good. Oh, I'm sorry. I
So
dropped
every
my
day,
camera.
every time I'm about to do a podcast, I get these knots in my stomach, and I'm like, oh my god, and I'm gonna be tongue tied, and this is gonna be so difficult for me, and it's gonna be so bad. And then I kind of give myself the Reiki, and I'm like, okay, calm down, you'll be okay, and I let the energy flow. And the minute I'm on, I'm like, well, it's okay, it flows,
It totally does. You would never ever know. Seriously.
So I've been giving myself Reiki frantically all morning, kind of like, calm the nerves, my stomach is in knots. Stop it. You're going to be okay.
No, you're a great communicator. You're a great speaker, great person, great soul. So you are here and we are
Thank
good.
you.
You're welcome.
Well, I mean, you're amazing. Obviously, it's what you do. So you're so good at it, right? So
I don't think
we just want to follow your example, right?
Well, you could just be doing what I do. It's easy to me, it comes easy to talk to people, and it seems that you have that same gift. But thank you for sharing that, because even there's times when I have to work, and I work in television all the time, and like this morning and now radio, and then sometimes you do public like speaking events, and I do still get nervous myself, and I'm like, like I have anxiety. I'm like, what do you mean? But you're so good at speaking. I'm like, but no, but this makes me nervous. I have to talk to people I don't know. And I feel like TV is easy because there's a camera and my friends in the studio. To talk to people like it's, so we all have our strengths, our weaknesses.
Yeah,
but
everybody does. Yeah. And that's what I tell people. I say, never be worried about approaching me with anything, because at the end of the day, we all go through all this stuff, right? We go through anxiety, we go through fear, we go through doubt. We doubt ourselves. So, just because it's kind of like when you see the models and everybody's like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. I wish I was as beautiful as them. Yeah. But, they wake up with no makeup in the morning too. And probably, I mean, they are beautiful. Yes. But they probably don't look as fantastic as they do in the finished product. So, it's just how you perceive yourself and how you present yourself. And, so it's not always the reality. So I always say no. I said, what you see is not always the truth. So, be free to express your doubts, express your fears. And of course, it's not going to fall on deaf ears, because that's what I do. I love to hear it. And I probably have those same exact feelings like every single day of my life. So
Yeah.
that's fine.
Aw. And
Yeah.
Tima, what else do you want to share about the benefits of Reiki? Do you want to share some stories, some examples?
Sure. Yeah. Reiki also is beautiful because you really, even like karmically, because as a Reiki master teacher, they tell you karmically, you cannot say no to people. So this is one thing you have to know when you take on Reiki, right?
Yeah.
So, you can't say no, because if you say no, you get the bad karma. It'll all come back to kind of bite you, which is not good. So, but by the same token, when you do the good stuff, you get so much, goodness coming into your life. Like, it's incredible. I mean, the things that have happened to me just in terms of kindness of strangers, or, being in a really awful situation, and then somebody just out of the blue comes out and does like such a wonderful thing to help me out of that situation. It's happened so many times. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, that is so nice. Like, it's so great that these things happen to me. And then I kind of hear a little voice in my head saying, well, you've earned it because you've helped so many people over the years, that you kind of get like a roster of tick 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 tick
Yeah.
tick, she's and you kind of cash it in at some point. You don't cash it in like sort of willingly, or very consciously, but you cash it in other ways. And I just think it's wonderful, the exchange of energy that happens in this universe. It's kind of sort of like when you go in somewhere and you have a negative attitude, how kind of everything happens negatively and things don't go well, and you're just like, oh God, the energy sucks. And then when you go in positively, somehow things just work out, and it just ends up being great.
But what about the energy I always feel? And it's no matter how positive and upbeat I am, when you walk into an elevator, why is the energy so like negative? Are people really that scared of each other and insecure? And like, cause it's just this weird,
Probably. I think it's the enclosed space. You're really at very close quarters with people. So I also get the sense that you're probably more open to people's energy than others would be. I get that
I'm always
feeling
like,
from you.
I try to make a comment and make a little, like, make everyone feel comfortable, lighten up, but it's always like so rigid. And so I feel like
it is.
I try to run and help relax.
I think it's the proximity. It's the proximity. You're just like, you're too close for comfort, and people get antsy, and they're like, I don't know, like, what's she thinking? What's she feeling? Do I smell? Do I not?
Yeah. I mean, now with the pandemic, I could see people being like this, but I mean, in general, before that, I've always felt weird in an elevator, and I feel like everyone else feels weird, and it's just weird.
It's true. It's kind of because you want to be polite, but you don't necessarily want to speak to people either at the same time. So you're kind of like, what do I do? So then you're like, oh, thank God, this is my floor.
or then you can pretend to be like on the cell phone, like,
Yeah. It's energy. It's energy. I would say that that's you attuning into energy in the elevator. You're probably just feeling what's going on around you. So that's kind of a microcosm of how I feel most days when I walk into places. So yeah, sometimes it's nice. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, what has hit me? This sucks. Anyway, yeah, it is what it is.
And where are you based out of again?
Toronto, Canada.
Perfect. And now you work with people, though, mostly all virtual, correct? Or do you do in person as
well?
Yes.
No, I do work.
Hands-on.
Well, obviously now with COVID, I do a lot of virtual work. Hands-on, I did a lot before, not so much anymore, but we're getting there. I do a lot of work for my friends and family and stuff like that, so they all love it. And the virtual work, I mean, most of my clients would come in virtually these days, I would say, because just because of the pandemic. And also it's great because they don't have to be based in Canada. They don't have to be in Toronto. They can just be literally anywhere and message me, and I can reach them on some level.
And still get the same effect,
wonderful
which
thing.
is awesome. People think, well, is it better if it's in person? If it's not? No, it's the same, right?
It is really the same. Yeah, I would say it's the same. Again, as long as the person is open.
Is willing and open.
That is the thing. They have to be willing and open. Yeah. Otherwise, that energy is going nowhere. It's just going to be stuck in space somewhere, wasted. So, yeah.
And normally, how many sessions does somebody need? Does it really all depend on them, their ailment, How do you determine
it? Depends. It depends. I mean, some people will just come to me for one or two, and then they'll feel really, really good, and I'll send them on their way with shielding exercises, ways to cope with whatever it is that they're suffering from. Sometimes it could take a really long time. So, they'll need like intense treatment. So it really depends on a case. It goes on a case to case basis. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people will leave after the first session just feeling fantastic, amazing, with a lighter step. I had somebody who I saw last week, and when she left, she was actually hands-on. She told me, she said, I can't believe it. She's like, I feel like I'm just like 100 pounds lighter. She's like, I don't know where it all went. All this like angst and worry and all this stuff that made me feel like I was so heavy. It's just all gone. Yeah. She said, I'm leaving you and I just feel so light. So yeah. So that was one session and it worked. So it really depends person to person. I can't really say until I've seen the person and assess their situation. Yeah.
Great. And what else did you want to share, Fatima? Do you want to talk about some of the work that you're currently doing or you've done without mentioning names, but to, let our audience know the types of things this can help with?
Sure. I mean, I mentioned, I think last week that I do work a lot with pregnant women and babies. And I've been kind of doing that work a lot and I really enjoy it. It's really joyful because it's just, beautiful when you see these new souls coming into the world. So, actually, when was this? A few months ago, one of my clients messaged me and she said, I'm going to have a girl and you've been sending me so much Reiki. So she's like, I'm just wondering, do you have any ideas what the girl's name should be? And I said, I don't really know. I said, I'm thinking maybe, and I told her, I like the name Pia. I don't know why. It's just really resonating with me. And she said, I don't know. She said, well, I'll talk to my husband and, we'll see. And, and we'll talk about other options. I just wanted to know if energetically you could think of a name. So I was like, yeah, anyway. So she makes it through the pregnancy. She goes to have the baby. It's a really traumatic birth. She almost dies. The baby almost dies. And then at the last minute, a nurse walks in and saves the baby's life. And the nurse was named Pia. So she literally messaged me because I told her, I said, look, whether you name your daughter Pia or not, there's going to be something to do with a Pia in her story. I don't know what it is. You want to name her Pia, do it. You don't want to. Wow. There's something there. And she said, I just couldn't believe it. She said, this nurse walked in. She literally saved my baby's life, literally, because it was touch and go there. So it's, again, like I said, you tell me, how do you feel these things? I don't know. I've had it my whole life. I just get a message.
Share that with us. Yeah. Because not everybody knows how you got into this.
Yeah, I've had this my whole life. So I will, I would just get a feeling about somebody or a message for somebody. I mean, obviously when I was younger, I didn't pay, that much attention. I didn't really know what it was, but I've had it for, most all of my life really. And it's just, I don't know. It's just told to me. I can't explain it.
Can you also contact those that have deceased? Could you say you're also a medium? Yes. So you could feel energy of that, those that have crossed. Okay.
Yes, but it's also based on requests. So I don't just like contact people. It's, if somebody comes in and they have a deceased person that they would like to contact, I'll do my best to contact them. But also, again, it depends on the deceased soul, right? Sometimes they don't want to be contacted or they've moved on to a much more advanced place and you can't really reach it. So it really depends, but you do your best for everybody who comes in with whatever request it is that they have, right? Yeah, but it's so cool. You asked if it's on tap. So it is on tap, but it's not, right? So if somebody came in and told me, well, like right now, sit down, I want you to contact my grandmother whose name is whatever, and she died, and I want a message from her. I mean, I'll sit down, but doesn't necessarily work out that way, because the energy works in its own way. I could get a message in a few days. I could get a message at that moment. It really depends. So, yeah, so I would say that the skeptic people find it there's a lot that they can pick apart. They kind of like say, well, it's not, there's nothing that we can prove. There's nothing that's tactile. We don't. And I said, you get it. I mean, I totally understand. And, you either believe or you don't.
Mm-hmm. Oh, now
Okay,
you're also
great.
a Reiki Master Teacher as well. So do you
Yes.
also offer one-on-one classes or group classes to teach others how to do what you do?
Yes.
And can anyone really be taught?
Anyone. You don't need to be, psychic. You don't need to be a medium. You don't need to have any kind of spiritual connection, because the Reiki is basically energy. So you give people energy, and that's it really. So with Reiki 1, it's hands-on. You learn how to heal people, kind of figure out where, the energy flow in their body is lacking, and you put your hands on that area, or you learn how to send it virtually in Reiki 2, or from a distance in Reiki 2. And so anybody can do it. So, and Reiki kind of really changes your life, improves your life in so many ways. It helps you to cope with so many things that you may have found difficult to cope with otherwise. I know it is for me. I'm a very sensitive person. I like, sometimes people will say things and I'll be like, oh my God, that hurt my feelings. And I'm like, you're so stupid. Stop it. Give yourself some Reiki, like cheer up. It wasn't a big deal.
And who did you learn from?
I learned from a wonderful Irish lady. She was my Reiki master. She helped me through a very bad time in my life, really bad. I was just so down, so depressed. Really, I thought that there was like nothing for me. I was like 22, I think. And I was like, this is it. It's over for me. It's over. And she was like, no, she was like, come on, like, let me start giving you Reiki. Let me give you Reiki healing. You'll see how beautiful life is. Things will improve. And they did, honestly. Like, and that's another thing I've said before, nothing ever stays the same. So, if you're depressed, if you're stuck in a horrible situation, if you feel that things will never get better, they will. They really will. I know that's cliche, but they will.
It's also like, is it part of like the law of attraction? If you want it, it'll come. If you put the vibe out there, the positiveness, how does that work into play with energy? Is it the kind of the same thing?
It does. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as, being positive, and you attract positive energy. It's the same thing, and with Reiki, you're putting out so many good vibes that you just attract so much goodness into your life. So, if you have a tendency to attract bad partners, or, partners who aren't necessarily good for you, or a little bit toxic, if you get Reiki, and if you are initiated into Reiki, you'll find that those people can no longer come into your life. They won't be introduced into your life anymore, because they simply don't have a place with all the good energy that you have going
purpose.
On. No, there's no purpose anymore. Yeah, because you're kind of past that. So it's, there's the benefits are multifold, I would say. So many, it can change everything. It can change everything. So I recommend everybody try it at least once. Look into it.
And you work with people with relationship issues that say they're stuck, or they can't move on, or they're not getting along with their spouse.
Yeah.
Reiki energy can help that. So do you work with couples, or does it have to be individual?
No, it can be individuals. The one thing I'll say though is that Reiki should not be a Band-Aid, right? So when I send Reiki to a situation, it gets better, but I still think that you have to have the strength to be able to deal with the core issue. So I always tell people, I'm like, I'll send the energy, you will feel better, things will improve, but it doesn't mean that once the Reiki has gone away a little bit, that it won't get bad again, because you still have a lot of core issues you have to deal with. So I work with people about talking about, their core issues, why this is happening, sending the Reiki to heal the origin of the crisis or the conflict, as opposed to just healing the argument or the current situation that's happening. Because I think that's more important than, kind of like I said, just putting a Band-Aid on like a big cut that's bleeding a lot. You have to actually get it done and stitched or whatever before you can move on, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you. And we just have 2 minutes left in the show. So Tima, what else do you want to share with everyone here?
Well, all I can say is, like I said, please, if you have any issues, if you have things you want to talk about, try Reiki once at least. I think it's something that people should try at least once in their lives, whether you believe in it or not, whether you believe in a higher being, whatever your religion is, whatever your set of beliefs. just go for it, give it a try and see. And if the time is right, then I really think that things will improve for you, and you may move into a beautiful new direction. So
Great.
So it's a wonderful thing to try, and I highly recommend it.
Do you offer like an initial conversation to see if it's a good fit, or could you talk?
I do.
Let our listeners know how to reach out to you.
I offer a free half hour, and my
Wow.
website is timadajani.com, www.timadajani.com. And yes, I do. And I'm always happy to speak to people, always happy to, hear people's stories. I find it fascinating, the variety that we have in life. And, if just reach out anytime, I'm available.
Great. Thank you. And on social media, can we find you as well?
No, it's just on my website.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then we can also reach you there, email you, set up that consultation. And in
Exactly.
closing today, do you want to leave anything for us to think about, or to maybe be a little more settled and, attract that positive energy? Any advice for us?
Well, I would just say, like the holidays are fast approaching, the days are shorter, things are a little bit, down at the moment, I would say, in terms of energy. So just be very positive. Like I said, nothing lasts. Christmas will be here soon enough, and all the joy and everything. And just, live your life with joy. And, this moment's never going to come back. So really enjoy it.
Perfect. Live with joy. I love it.
Yes,
thank you,
live with
Tima.
joy.
You have a great day.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.